All right, y'all, before we start with this week's new metal albums, I just want to say rest in peace, Brent Hines, and thank you. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, JonBarbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's album art of the week. It's the weekend. That means we got new metal albums dropping on us, and I'm bringing you my 5 favorite. But before we jump into the top 5, as is customary, we talk about the big album releases, so let's get it. Now, it could be argued that Deftones are bigger now and more popular with the youngins than they've ever been. And now we've got a new album, Private Music, that shows them deep into their career at top form. Hey, do you like demon noises? Signs of the Swarm, to rid myself of truth, for when you want deathcore to be nasty all the time. And next up, there's a new album from We Came as Romans called All Is Beautiful Because We're Doomed. Fantastic album title. Now, I've spent a lot of time on this show defending metalcore from the true cult metalheads, but this style right here, this is the one that makes me understand. You know, I want my metal to be heavy in places other than just the breakdown, but stick with me because later on in the show, I'll have some metalcore that I do really like. And lastly, before we jump into the top 5, there's a new album from Blackbriar called 1,000 Little Deaths, alternative metal out of the Netherlands, but it's alternative metal that sounds very European. It's alternative metal from people that know their music theory. So if that's appealing to you, check it out. Now let's do the top 5. Coming in at number 5, Malavich, Under a Gilded Sun, sludgy Screamo out of Atlanta. Rise up. Now, this is the first time in the show's history I've ever picked a Screamo band, and the simple reason for that is I don't like Screamo, but I like this band. This band is an exception, and I'll tell you why. If I were to review an emo record and I described it as being emotional, well, you might find that to be redundant, but not to me, because to me, emo music is devoid of emotion. And the reason for that is because most emo Screamo bands, they sound paint by numbers to me because they all do the things that Screamo bands do. They all have that same vocal cadence, timbre, and delivery, but not this band. Each word that is screamed is not just screamed for window dressing because that's what you're supposed to do in a Screamo band. They actually have weight and meaning. And then the band playing the music accompanies that meaning by rising and falling according to the delivery, which to me says they went into the studio with a plan, a very pissed off plan. Coming in at number 4, Innumerable Forms with Pain, Effulgence, Death Doom out of Boston. Now, Justin from this band is also in Summerlands and Dream Unending, which is one of my favorite Death Doom bands. And I get the feeling that after those last 2 Dream Unending albums, he wanted to do something quite the opposite, where Dream Unending, forgive the pun, sounds quite dreamy. Innumerable Forms sounds nightmarish. This is some really nasty stuff, but where most Death Doom is lumbering and pulsating, this record opens with a chainsaw riff. It's like they're letting you know, don't expect standard Death Doom here. We're gonna give it to you. Really odious sounding guitar tone, and I mean that in the best of death metal ways. This is one of those records where calling it filthy or saying it gives you lip curling disgust just doesn't quite seem adequate enough. If you're a death metal masochist like me, rejoice. Coming in at number 3, Ashen, Leave the Flesh Behind, death metal out of Australia. No need to worry about a sophomore slump here. It's like they took what they started with Ritual of Ash, treated it as a proof of concept, went onwards and upwards, and delivered us something even better. I had high expectations, and they beat them. They came at this one with the same brutality, but just tighter and with greater dynamics. The vocals are gnarly, but they're so pristinely articulated. The clarity on this production really needs to be shouted out. This is death metal that leaps out of the speakers. This is the perfect middle ground, the perfect marriage of old school death metal and modern clarity. The death metal renaissance continues, y'all. Coming in at number 2, Basque, The Turning. This is heavy Americana, perfect genre description, out of Asheville, North Carolina. And this band, they have fused together Appalachian folk music with heavy metal and prog. It sounds like if Daniel Boone was in a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy sort of adventure. It sounds like if Mastodon had way more bluegrass influences, or if Pink Floyd had way more Black Sabbath influences. It's spacey, it's earthy, and those two don't seem like they mix, but they do. It's like it fulfills your longing for home and your longing for the horizon at the same time. And hey, before we do number 1, it's time for this month's book recommendation. Yep, we're getting towards the end of August. Time flies when you're having fun, so it's that time again. And considering that Megadeth just announced that their upcoming album will be their last, and then they're going on a farewell tour, I figure now's a good time to recommend Mustaine, written by the man himself, an autobiography. You know, have you ever been on the internet, and of course on metal sites, it will come up, Dave Mustaine says this about this, and you usually get this weird headline about some hot take he had about usually Metallica because they can't stop asking him about them, or some other band. Well, here you can get more in-depth thoughts than just a quick soundbite or headline. It's interesting to hear exactly where he's coming from, not where somebody tells you he's coming from. Now, it's a very Dave Mustaine book, which makes it that much more fun. So I recommend Mustaine. I will have a link in the description. It is an affiliate link. I will get a penny or two if you buy this through the link, and you will enjoy this read. It's a page turner. It's heavy metal history, and they're retiring soon, so I may have to go see this world tour. Are y'all going to see it? Let me know in the comments. Now let's do number 1. Coming in at number 1, Corridor, abandoned post-black metal out of Wisconsin. Now there is atmospheric black metal, the genre description, and then there's black metal that is atmospheric. Count this one amongst the latter. It's airy, but the atmosphere is dense. It's like a storm cloud. There's 2 guitars, and they're always doing counter melody to each other. The rhythm section is providing more than a pulse and a groove. It also drones, which builds that atmosphere. There's 3 vocalists constantly doing harmony, and the result of this big wall of sound, all of this construction, all of the patience and care that they put into making each segment, each passage, it results in a record that cannot be perceived with one listen. There's simply too much going on. But the good news is this one's so good, you'll want to do multiple listens. All right, longtime subscribers know that the Dealer's Choice segment is the part of the show that allows me to break my own rules. And this week, I'm breaking the only full albums rule. We're going with an EP from Fate's Messenger called Eternal War, Metalcore, out of England. We alluded to it earlier when we talked about We Came as Romans. No disrespect to them. I hope they're a great gateway band to get lots of people into heavier forms of metal. It's just not for me. Fate's Messenger, this is for me. Prior to the modern era when pop and octane style butt rock became the fashion du jour for modern metalcore, the big split in the community was between the more hardcore influenced bands and the post at the gates mellow death influenced bands, and Fate's Messenger seems like an amalgamation of both. Got a lot of hardcore anger in the vocals, but those mellow death riffs and grooves are ever present throughout this EP. But it's got modern production that gives it a contemporary bite and some gnarly riffs. So I enjoyed this one. You will too if you check it out. Now let's talk about this week's best album art. My favorite album art this week comes from Vindicator, Whispers of Death, thrash metal out of Ohio. Every week I come on here and I bemoan how when you look at all of the week's releases, it's just one standard heavy metal album cover after the next. They all look the same, bunch of skulls and monsters and super busy oil paintings, all with the same muted color schemes. But that doesn't mean I'm against skulls. I like me a good skull, and this is a good skull. There's actually something going on here that's interesting. I could look at this for hours. I love how there's all these little details in each segment, and the color scheme changes from each segment, but it's also consistent when you skip segments. I love that the background is plain, which makes the foreground pop. It's not too busy. It brings your eyes right at the subject matter. It makes me want to listen to this record because look at this album cover. How could it be like this and not be interesting? That's the job of your good album cover. It's not to look like everybody else. It's to draw my attention, and this one did. So make sure you check out Vindicator. And I want to leave you guys with a message before we close the show. The unfortunate passing of Brent Hinds and the announcement of Megadeth's imminent retirement, it really reinforces something that I've been saying on this podcast a lot for the past year. If a band you like is coming near you and you're on the fence about going, go. You never know what's going to happen. I'm really happy that I got a chance to see Mastodon with all of their original members. I never got to see Black Sabbath with all of their original members, and now I never will. I never got to see Slayer with all of their original members, and I never will. So if a band you like is coming your way, and you're like, oh, I don't know, there's this circumstance or that circumstance, go. You may not get the chance to do it ever again because you never know what's going to happen. Not just tragedy, but also the music industry is super hard. And there are people that just can't do it anymore. They're quitting, they're retiring. You know, not all of our favorite bands are these multi-millionaire, huge rock star bands. Some of us, our favorite bands are mid-size or smaller bands, and those bands are barely making it, if they're making it at all. And every day bands like that decide, I just can't do this anymore. So if they come near you, go. Now, one more thing. If you found it kind of weird that I picked a bluegrassy metal band for number 2, well, I had that band on the podcast this week. So if you're curious how that sort of sound comes together, you can do that by clicking right here. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.